Hey, it's Jay Stevens from iHeartRadio, and we are getting near the release of Welcome to America. This is an album that we could have really used, Morris, 11 years ago, because the Purple One gave us some prophecies that unfortunately have come true. This record was recorded, it was put together yourself. You were a huge part of that process back in 2010. I guess the first question that a lot of people are going to have is why? Why now? Why not in 2010? Because man, those are some words that we could have lived by. That opening track.
Yeah. You know, the funny thing is, Jay, it's almost incredible. Well, it is incredible that that it comes out now in the wake of the things that's happened with regard to like George Floyd and Trump and all of the other things politically that's been happening and socially that's been happening. It's actually a more poignant record now. I think it has a lot more impact now. But I pontificated about like how why didn't it come? Because I asked Prince and I got a very esoterical answer. He didn't really answer it. He's like, we'll revisit that down the line kind of thing. But I actually got a confirmation from Tall, who also was one of the players on this record. And I thought, knowing Prince as I did, I said, you know what? If it was a situation where they were committed to other situations that they were doing at the time, I know Tall was playing with Jeff Beck and Herbie Hancock. If they couldn't fully commit to that project at that time, then Prince would table it. You know, I think that was going to be the newest version of the New Power Generation, and then he was going to do a big splash about it. And she basically confirmed it for me last night on an interview. And so, you know, in the music game, brother, you cannot, if you're playing for people like Herbie and Jeff, you can't just cancel those gigs and just go do something at the spur of the moment. You'll never work in this business again if you don't keep your word, you know. So that's what it turned out to be. I thought that's what it was, and that's what it was.
Yeah, there's a lot of integrity behind the scenes of the music business, and certainly when it comes to Prince and the people that he surrounded himself with, I think that was first and foremost. You can certainly speak to this after spending more than 2 decades with him, but that was always his word was his word, and if a project didn't feel right, then it wasn't the right time. And you're spot
Yeah,
on with hearing the words in that opening track and hearing them spoken the way that he delivers them. I
yeah,
think one of the big things that we would have taken for granted in 2010 is a statement like the truth is a new minority. And you think about everything that's transpired the last 24 months, the last 18 certainly.
Jay,
You know,
that is one of the most poignant lines in that because now we have alternative facts now. And nothing is about really about the facts anymore. It's about who's the most popular and who can package their talking points the best. You know, it's not about facts and truth. And so that's a very man picked a killer line, and I'm glad somebody caught that. And so that's very important, and that's why I'm saying like so much of what's happened is represented in this record, man, and it's just so powerful now in the wake of everything that's happened, and that's why I think I'm so happy that the estate, you know, and going through all of these archives, man, there's thousands and thousands of songs in there and albums and stuff that's in that vault that they could have put out, and I'm glad they found this one. You know, obviously I'm happy for my participation in it, but the more important thing is that it is a timely record for what's happening right now, and it's a really different kind of a Prince embarked on a kind of different sound and a different vibe on this album. It's not as polished and overly produced, and it's just real stark and just down the middle.
there's some solid funk. Like I grew up in the shadow of Motown, so I listened to a little bit of this, and I'm thinking there's a little bit of a Curtis Mayfield vibe there.
Oh yeah,
And you guys were doing a lot of that with the new power generation. I mean, there
yeah,
was mainstream Prince, and then there was almost like passion project Prince, the music
yeah.
that he really wanted to make for his fans and people who truly understood him.
Yeah, when we sat in the car listening to the when he called me to come over to listen to some stuff, and when I got there, he was sitting in his car, and I hopped in with him, and he just started playing, and he started telling me the stories on how the whole project unfolded and about the songs themselves. I remember sitting there listening to the first three tracks, and I was like, "Oh wow, Prince, you're going in hard, man! You're going in on them," And I'm like this is crazy because I'm like, this is he'll hear the track and then go on to some other stuff. He kind of talks about like Dear Mr. Man and Sign of the Times. Ronnie talked to Russia, any stuff like that where he just taps on it and kind of goes on. But this one was a sustained attack on the situation. And so when he got to Born to Die, he told me he was watching YouTube. Sometimes he likes to veg out on YouTube, and he was checking out Dr. Cornel West, a good friend of his, and Dr. West said, yeah, Prince is great, but he's no Curtis Mayfield. And Prince took that as a personal challenge. And he was like, really? Okay, we'll see. And he told me that's why he got the inspiration for that song. And I just was like, when I heard it, he played the track there, and I was like, oh. I said, oh yeah, Prince, I got you, man. I know where you're going. I know where you're going.
That's incredible. And you know what? Those are the fun, playful moments that we don't necessarily, as fans, that
Yeah.
we weren't really treated to, and that's why I love the fact that this music is coming out and accompanying with it stories like yours and the rest of the new power generation, people from the estate that could speak a little bit more and breathe a little bit more life into the music. And we speak about that. It's very interesting to note, and I want everybody to know this, that this was not something that, as you alluded to before, the estate slapped together. This was a record that was done, that was completed in 2010. You guys toured. There
Yeah.
was the Welcome to America tour, and then the Welcome to Europe tour. This record had its life in front of people, but this is the first time that we're getting this. And I also love the fact that you're accompanying with it the live performance during the
Oh,
shows at the Forum, right? The 21 night stand.
absolutely.
Take me back to that, because that's on the heels of the tour. You guys cap it off with this
Yeah.
monumental string of
Man,
performance.
this is what's so dope about this whole thing to me, man. And I'm just elated on so many levels. When, of course, it was like when we got the record and everything, when they decided to put this record out, I was like, wow, this is great, man, because it was a complete body of work. It was an album. I even told them, I said, look, when you guys go to sequence this thing, I would suggest to you a friendly suggestion that you do it the way Prince gave it to me on the CD he gave me. He sequenced everything for a purpose. The reason why I put it that way, he had a reason. So I said, if I were you, I would leave it intact like he made it. And they did that. I listened to the mixes of everything. There were some things that would the only thing was different is when sometimes when I would give Prince the mixes back, he'd burn a CD and ride around with the girls. I've just found this out actually, and they would listen to what I did, and then he'd go back and do something extra on it. He'd do that, and so there's that. But then when they sent me the concert footage and said, "Hey, we're also gonna roll this into the project," I was like, "What?" And I saw it, bro, and I completely remembered that particular show. We did 21 shows, and
Yeah.
I remembered that show, and I was like, "Oh my god!" So the first couple of times, it wasn't me doing any work. I wasn't listening for audio. I was just dancing and grooving and crying like, "Oh man, this is cool. We did it." It was like I was feeling it for once, the experience of what the crowd felt,
Yeah.
from that vantage point. And so, man, that is just as powerful as the record to me, because it's just like this is seeing Prince in his natural form, like on the stage and doing what he did best. And it's just a great addition to this package, man. And I just thought after I finally like actually got to listen to it on the work side, I was like, dude, this is awesome. This whole process and what they did with that. And so I just think it's great, man. And I'm really grateful that they're over there thinking like how they could make these things come out and really make them cool.
So moving forward, once we get on the other side of everything that's gone on the last year and a half, and life starts to return back to whatever normal looks like in the future, do we revisit Welcome to America? I realize that the tour has happened, and I realize that obviously, it's going to have a different feel to it. But I think, again, as we talk about bringing the music to the masses, is there a way to bring this and encapsulate it in a live setting in some capacity?
I think, as Prince told me, anything is possible. That was one of the big things that I would say things when I watch him do what he did. I'd be like, Prince, good God, that's impossible. I know I can't do that. And he told me very quickly with that very quiet voice, he said, Morris, if you want to stay here, I don't deal with impossible. I don't deal with no. I deal with we make it happen. We figure it out. So if I go by his own logic, then yeah, it's a possibility that something like that could happen. I mean, we have all of the people that were involved with that project, except Prince, and so we have wonderful singers that we worked with over the years that I think could absolutely do a killer job at something like that. But of course, that's up to the estate and the people who run that part of it. I'm, you know, if anything that makes sense, I'm at the ready to do anything that's going to be a positive thing with regard to Prince. If it's going to be and done in a positive way where the focus is on Prince and his music, and that's what it's about, then I'm down. I'm 100% down. And I think a lot of other people who work with him will be in the same position. You know, so hopefully that's something to consider. You know, we'll see what happens, of course, over time, but that's absolutely something I think would be awesome. And as far as I'm thinking.
Morris Hayes, thanks so much for being here. Much love and continued success with continuing to bring us more from the vaults that I do believe what you say to be true, that Prince wanted us to hear. So thank you very much for the time.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Jay. I appreciate it, bro.